just as a musician and as a man. Extraordinary. And who bequeaths to his successor at Cornell an intimidatingly rich and profound legacy. But since Tom Sokol couldn't make it tonight, how can I not know that we're here to celebrate the legacy of Scott Tucker? I mean, it's all been drilled into our heads this entire night just how wonderful this guy is. I mean, right before me. I mean, we all love Scott, but it's not like your Mother Teresa or anything. I mean, unless, are there any lepers here? Any lepers been cured by? I didn't think so. Anywho, the book I bought about speaking in public said to open the toast with a funny story about the person being honored. But I'm not going to do that. Sure, we all have our favorite Tucker stories. His infamous dance in the water fountain in Nashville. The time he wore his Harvard Glee Club tie to Corneliana night. Or the time we caught him strung out in a crack house run by members of the Cayuga Chamber Orchestra. Those kinds of stories get old fast. No, I want to speak about something more important, which is the feeling of loss present here tonight, and that indeed all of us feel when we graduate. Because all bits aside, for those of us in the Glee Clubbing chorus, past and present, singing with Scott Tucker is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Next to, thank you, yes. Next to my wife giving birth to what we later discovered was her boss's kid. Singing with Scott was the biggest thrill of my life. 12 years after I graduated and left with the club, I'm still trying to fill that void. Many of us are. We've all thought about this in a number of different ways. Some of us have joined choral groups in our local communities. Others have founded their own singing groups. Some, like myself, have taken their feelings of emptiness and bitterness and projected them onto others, like our children, or our ethnic groups. Kentucky Fried Chicken. But listen, at the risk of sounding profound, I'll say that the truth is we can try, but those wonderful times we shared with Scott, they're not coming back. The ancient Greek philosopher Theocritus once said, "Beautiful is the bloom of youth, but it does not last." Thomas Wolfe said, "You can't go home again." Monica Lewinsky said, "I've spent the past several years working so hard to just move on and try to build a new life for myself." And yet the memories of those days can help sustain us through life's travails. For that we will always be in Scott's debt. Now, Scott came to Cornell 17 years ago from Harvard. We were his safety school, so to speak. Scott said that he had always wanted to work with other kids, and Cornell provided him with the perfect opportunity. We're a blue collar as a kid here, after all. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but before I met Scott, I thought Richard Wagner was the star of Heart to Heart, and that Beatles' Ave Maria was about some broad named Maria and the dangers of teen pregnancy. I'm sorry, I'm being bad with these jokes. I apologize. I'm being undisciplined, rowdy, vulgar even. In short, I'm being the living embodiment of the Glee Club and chorus tours under the supervision of Scott. Did I say supervision? Not participation. Stories of the hijinks that occurred. The time the Glee Club officers had to take Tucker shoe shopping because his tuxedo shoes had holes in them. Or when on his very first tour he got lost in a shopping mall. And who can forget the time with Scott on his West Coast tour when our plane got lost and we were all marooned on a deserted island with British schoolboys, allowing all semblance of civilization to collapse, with a return to a barbaric state of savagery and murder. And dare I bring up our infamous tour burns? For those of you not in the know, tour burns were the little prank we would play on Scott during tours. I remember the times when we would, say, change the lyrics to a verse, or the time when we didn't sing the final note of a piece and let Scott flail away on the podium. And, of course, we forget the time we kidnapped Scott's children and waterboarded them until he gave us access to the music department's endowment fund. We'll always have those moments. Sure. But now it comes down to this final week, this wonderful concert tonight and tomorrow night. Saying goodbye isn't easy. Unless, of course, you're at your mother-in-law's funeral. Am I right? Well, I'm sorry, that was inappropriate. But indeed, Scott is leaving for Washington, D.C. to take up a prestigious new post. I don't like to think of it so much as Cornell is losing Scott, as it is to Leaf is gaining a wingman. Dinner for two at Applebee's. And by exploits, I mean lights out at 10. Seriously though, Scott, we want to wish you well on your new journey. As magical as these past 17 years have been, we all know that unlike Kim Kardashian, your best isn't behind you. Thank you, Scott. Double seriously. Thank you, Scott, for being such an inspiring mentor and great friend to everyone here. The place won't be the same without you. And to pull one of your favorite cookies. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on everything. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the maestro, Scott Tucker.